Google Classroom has added special add-ons for using Edpuzzle, Kahoot, Pear Deck, Nearpod, and 14 other tools from within the Classroom window. Also, now you can format text within your Google Forms, and Canva fanatics rejoice. Canva has added a screen recorder and other enhancements. Welcome in episode 9 of the EdTech News Brief. I'm your host, Jake Miller. This is the show where, as the title says, I tell you about the EdTech news and I keep it brief. And by brief, I mean clear, concise, and just what you need to know. Nothing more, nothing less. This is episode 9. It's August 15th-ish, and I've got some EdTech news to share with you today. I cannot believe it's taken me this long to get a new episode to you. Sorry about that. A combination of my new day job as personalized learning specialist for 2 Northeast Ohio educational service centers and the other part of that combo, my kids, have kept me busy. So this is a little delayed, but I'm glad to be back here to share with you. As those of you watching the video version of this episode can tell, I'm again continuing the tradition of recording from a weird place. Here I am in a hotel room in Columbus, not for speaking engagement this time, but for some trainings for my day job. So I'm taking the time here while my kids and their activities can't interrupt me to record an episode here. And I do love my kids, so I'm gladly taking the time with my kids instead of recording episodes. But I wish I could somehow do both. But here in Columbus, I could just go ahead and record because the kids aren't here. Or just text me a little bit. Anyhow, it's back to school time, or at least close to it for most of you. Sorry to bring it up. But so because of that, I will try to get on an episode each week for the next month or so to make sure you're up to date on what's changing as you transition back into your classrooms. Actually, this episode is coming out on a Monday, I think, and I meant to put it out last week, I think. It depends on when I get this finished editing. So I'll probably actually try to do 2 this week to make up for last week. So I might do 2 this week, and I hope to do at least 1 a week for the next month or 2. Subscribe or follow the show to make sure you don't miss anything. Let's start with some Google news. Google has unveiled add-ons for Google Classroom. Now, before I go too far, I want to point out these are only for educators on the Google Workspace for Education Plus edition or the Teaching and Learning Upgrade edition. If you're in the free Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals or the lowest paid version, which is called Education Standard, you won't have these add-ons. Now, I know you're crying right now, those of you that don't have them. Don't cry too much. You can still use all of these tools, assuming that there's not a paid version that you need to have or anything like that for them, just without this added convenience that we're going to talk about here about classroom add-ons. That's really what these classroom add-ons do. They're not necessarily going to change your teaching practices or ramp up your pedagogy or make class more engaging. It's just going to make it a little more efficient for you. So is it nice to have them? Yes. But is it necessary? No, you'll be fine without them. I know you're probably still crying. So while those people that don't have access to these add-ons are crying in their Cheerios, I'll talk to those of you who are in those special accounts and let you know about what you're getting. So Google has partnered with 18 different tools to make it easier to assign stuff from their tools within Google Classroom. Those tools include Edpuzzle, Kahoot, PBS Learning Media, Google Playbooks, Sora, Newsela, Safari Montage, Google Arts and Culture, IXL, CK12, Book Widgets, Adobe Express, WeVideo, Formative, Pear Deck, Nearpod, WordWall, and Genially. There's actually a few tools in there I'm not familiar with, so I'm going to have to go research them. On the student end, this is nice because these tools become easy one-click logins from within Google Classroom. The less jumping around we make our students do, the better, right? On the teacher end, assigning things is streamlined, but the real bonus, I think, is the grading piece. While some tools, like Edpuzzle, for example, have long synced grades into Classroom, others, like maybe Pear Deck, have not. Now you can access many of those tools inside that trademark Google grading window with that grading sidebar on the side. So you can enter grades into Classroom while looking at the actual tool. Plus, more of them now do that syncing of the grades from the tool right into Google Classroom, as I was mentioning with Edpuzzle. Let's take a peek at a few of these. First up, let's look at Kahoot. For the most part, nothing new is happening here. Kahoot works the same, and Google Classroom works the same, but now you can assign a Kahoot from within Classroom without going to Kahoot in a separate tab, without copying it, without pasting that link into Google Classroom. You just do it from in Classroom. And for your students, they just click that link right in Classroom, and the Kahoot pops up. They don't need a game code or anything like that. just more convenient, right? The behavior with Pear Deck, for example, is similar, but I'm extra excited about this one. Last year, if I wanted to assign a Pear Deck assignment for my students to complete on their own time, I typically open the slide deck, click the Pear Deck add-on, started a student-paced activity, then click the button to share that link to Google Classroom that came up in that little pop-up window. Now, with the add-on, you assign directly from Classroom. You still have to have a slide deck that's ready to go, but the process is much smoother for you. You just pick the slide deck and it turns it into that assignment there for you. You never even see the code, although we'll all miss their clever 6-word codes. And it's easy for your students too. They just click, go, and then the new step, turn it in at the end, is the new thing that's changed there. Edpuzzle behaves similarly. Things are just a little bit easier, a little bit smoother. You don't have to leave one tab to get the link and then come back to the other tab, and the students don't have to jump around to find things. Just do it right from within Classroom. So just a little more convenient. The one addition that I like a lot is that Edpuzzle has sent scores to Classroom for some time, but now you can add comments in Google Classroom about those assignments while looking at the Edpuzzle screen. So before, if a kid got a 90%, that went into Classroom, but you had to then go into Classroom and add some text feedback if you wanted to. Now you're right inside Classroom, so it's a little bit easier and quicker to get to that feedback spot. Similarly, with Nearpod, you could see the robust assessment data that Nearpod has always provided, but see it now from right within the Classroom grading window. And then you still have to manually type that score and the comments in right from there, but you see them right alongside that Google Classroom grading sidebar. Not a major improvement, but we know that every second counts. I mean, hey, if you're a high school teacher and you can make grading each of your 120 students a second faster, that's like 2 minutes worth of time, and you just might get to take a bathroom break. Yay, you! There are a bunch of other tools that I didn't share about: PBS Learning Media, Google Play Books, Sora, Newsela, Safari Montage, Google Arts and Culture, IXL, CK12, Book Widgets, Adobe Express, WeVideo, Formative, WordWall, and Genially. It's pretty similar, at least I assume, for all of those. Faster assigning, faster student access, and smoother feedback processes. Google is hinting that there will be more than just these 18 tools in the future too, so there'll be more added on as we go through it. The one thing I'm interested to see here is, in my experiences last year, sometimes that grading experience in Google where you have the grading sidebar can be really slow to go from one student to the next. So I'm wondering, is this going to be really slow, as it's not just loading that sidebar and things like that and a Google Doc to go with it? Now it's loading up the Nearpod screen inside of there. So I hope that the bandwidth issues are okay here and that we're able to use this efficiently, because that would kind of destroy this efficient, convenient add-on if that is a problem there. Again, though, this is only for schools with Google Workspace for Education Plus Edition or the Teaching and Learning upgrade. So WACOM is a maker of different pen tablets. They make one called One by WACOM, and I've got one of them, and I'd like for you to have one too. This handy tool replaces your mouse with a digital pen, and writing on the tablet feels as natural as paper. You can write digitally on PCs or Macs or Chromebooks. It's great for teacher use for live lessons like Khan Academy style videos and detailed feedback, but it's also awesome for students to use to show their learning. They also come with 3 months of the professional versions of Pear Deck and Explain Everything and Cami and other tools at no additional charge. So how do you get one of your own? Well, you could pay for one and go buy one, or you could win one from this episode. You just have to interact with this episode in YouTube. 5 easy steps. Access this episode in YouTube. Some of you are already there. Like the episode, subscribe to my channel, click the notifications bell, and finally, comment on the video. Your comment can be anything, well, anything nice, relevant, and appropriate, that is. Do that, and then you'll be entered to win. I'll pick winners sometime after the next episode airs. Again, like the episode, subscribe to my channel, click the notifications bell, and finally, comment on the video. I've got 3 of these to give away, so your odds are good. Only 1 entry per person, but if you do it from 2 accounts, I'll probably look the other way. Okay, good luck, everyone. Google Forms has looked pretty much the same for the respondent for the last, I don't know, it feels like a decade. Anyhow, they won't look quite the same now because Google has rolled out a handful of updates to forms. First, you can now adjust the fonts and font sizes of any part of your form. You could use any of your Google Docs fonts. They do limit your font sizes. Big brother Google doesn't want us making our fonts too big or too small, I guess, but at least we can change them. And you can make them different in the header, subheader, and body text. I imagine Google cringing about the possible graphic design laws that you'll all be breaking with your Google Forms. So try to keep it looking nice, all right? I think that's actually why Google held off on doing something like this for such a long time. They wanted to make sure the forms looked pretty in terms of Google's graphic design principles that they follow. But now they're giving us some freedom. Thank you, Google. The other part of this freedom is letting us use some basic formatting within the text. We can now make our text bold, italicized, or underlined, and we can even add clickable hyperlinks. We used to have to add links as what are called naked links, and those are not something inappropriate, I promise. It means you're including the full URL to get the link in there. Now you can make it a hyperlink, so you don't have to put in that full long web address. You can link it to a piece of text. Anyhow, so now we've got fonts, font sizes, bold, italics, underline, and hyperlinks. Plus, we can also make lists, numbered or bulleted, in our descriptions. Nice. These features are for all Google accounts and should already be active for you. Does your school district have a Chromebook one-to-one program? Are you struggling to manage your district's IT assets in a spreadsheet? I mean, I do love spreadsheets, but if you're managing a bunch of Chromebooks that way, that can be a little bit crazy. If you're tasked with managing hundreds of Chromebooks or other IT assets like projectors and smartboards and things like that, you'll want to listen to this. Today's sponsor, Vizor, is a Chromebook and IT asset management solution designed specifically for school districts. Vizor seamlessly integrates with the Google Admin Console and your student information system. With Vizor, you can easily see which student has which Chromebook, manage repairs, and even automate disabling lost or stolen devices while notifying parents, all in one click. To find out more and lock in up to 20% off, go to vizor.cloud/Jake. That's Vizor, V-I-Z-O-R, or Z for those of you in Canada, vizor.cloud/Jake, or just click the link in the show notes or episode description. Educators love themselves some Canva, and over the last year, Canva added a bunch of things for educators to love, but I haven't shared about them here yet. Shame on me. Come on, Jake. First, back at the end of 2021, remember 2021? They added a screen recorder to Canva. In most of their template options, maybe all actually, I'm not really sure, you can click upload and then record my screen. And then you could record your webcam, your screen, or both with your webcam in a small circle window. It's super easy to use, and then it allows you to trim the video and crop what shows on your screen. The crop is interesting because it can crop the screen without cropping out your webcam. It leaves your webcam video where it was if you were doing screen and webcam at the same time. So you could crop the screen but not the webcam, which is pretty neat. Is screen recording in Canva as good as Camtasia or Screencastify or Loom or Screencast-O-Matic? No, I'd say it's probably not, but it is convenient. It's built into a tool that you might be using every day, and it has some features that make it easy to whip up a slick looking video very quickly. So it's definitely worth mentioning here, and it's worth you considering. Canva has also added a few other features that I haven't covered here yet. First, they added a comment-only sharing mode. Previously, when you shared a Canva project, you could share it as edit or view for the person you're sending it to. Now you can give people an option in between those two, and they can give you feedback and comment on things. Next, if you make presentations in Canva, did you know that was an option, by the way? Anyhow, if you make presentations in Canva, you can now have slides in your deck that are hidden. This is something that I do regularly in Google Slides, so it's nice that Canva has that now too. Maybe it's a slide that you're still working on, or maybe you're giving a truncated version of a presentation, so you're skipping a few slides. Now you can skip that by just hiding those slides, and then you can unhide them later. And a few more with Canva. You can now add projects into different folders and search for projects. Also, when someone comments on a project, like you commenting on a student's project, for example, you can now use some simple emoji reactions. Finally, Canva has a set of magic shortcuts for their live presentations. So if you're doing those presentations, you can use some keyboard shortcuts like D to start a drum roll, C for confetti, and now they've added 2 additional effects, U for a suspenseful and exciting curtain call, and M for a presentation ending mic drop moment. Hey, don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, click the thumbs up to tell me thanks and ring that subscribe bell. If you're listening to the podcast, don't forget to follow the show or subscribe if that's what your app says. And if you have a moment, submit a review. Hey, did you know that you could order copies of my book, Educational Duct Tape and EdTech Integration Mindset, for your whole teaching team, your whole school, your whole district, every person you know who is named Timothy, or every teacher that you know who wears a size 11.5 shoe? Well, maybe it's not that specific, I guess, unless you want it to be. But the point is, yes, my book is on Amazon, but you can also order in bulk from me for cheaper than you get them on Amazon. So, want to do a book study at your school? Send me an email. jakemillertech@gmail.com. Seriously, send me that email, jakemillertech@gmail.com. So I'm always happy to answer your questions. Got one? Send it to me, jakemillertech@gmail.com, or a message on any social media platform, or head over to speakpipe.com/edu duct tape, the name of my other podcast and the book, and you could record an audio message and you might just hear your voice on the show asking that question. First off, I'm always happy to help you out by answering the question, maybe even on the show if it's relevant. Second, sometimes your questions make me giggle. Here's my favorite that was asked within the survey that I did during the launch of the show. So people ask questions then, and I have some of them ready to answer here on the show. This person said, I wasn't familiar with one of the apps you discussed. Gib Pro? G-I-B Pro? Gib Pro? That's Gimkit. Gimkit. Gimkit Pro. I think maybe I need to slow down with my speaking, but happy to answer your questions here. Thanks for the giggle at Gib Pro. It took me a little while to figure out what they were talking about when they said Gib Pro. That would be Gimkit Pro. Maybe I had peanut butter in my mouth while I was recording that episode. Do you have a question that might make me giggle, or might just make me think, or might be useful, or that you want answered? Please share it. Details are in the show notes for those different ways to reach out. And finally, the way that I cap off every episode is with a dad joke. And as I shared a while back, I am now using the world's greatest dad jokes, the complete collection, over 500 cringeworthy puns and one-liners book. Partially because it's an awesome book, and partially because it was a gift from my mom, a longtime educator who passed away a few months back. So my mom got me this for Christmas, and now I'm using it here. So thanks, Mom. Anyhow, here's today's dad joke. Did you hear the joke about the paper? It's terrible. Oh, it's so bad. My mom would be rolling her eyes at me for that one for sure. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope it wasn't too terrible. I hope to be back again this week since I missed last week, and if I'm not, I'll be back next week. I'm doing my best, folks. Sorry when I miss episodes in there. It's just me being busy. I know you understand, your teachers, huh? And I really do hope that you'll be back with me whenever I do come back with the next episode. Again, hopefully this week. I'd really appreciate it if you do those awesome things like rating or reviewing the show in Apple Podcasts, liking or subscribing to the show on YouTube, following the podcast in your favorite app, and of course, sharing this episode. And don't forget about the contest giveaway that I talked about earlier and those parameters for helping out the show on YouTube to enter to win one of those tablets. So go back to that segment and write down those 5 steps. Step 1 is going to the video on YouTube, so really it's 4 steps. Go back to that part and enter to win by doing those 4 very easy steps. Thanks so much for being here today. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a great day. I hope this helped, and I'll see you soon.